Oh my gosh, TikTok, it's time to rock. It's my pleasure to be here with Hos on the top tier. We've got holding us up all the way from some place in Auckland City, Chris Hunter joining us. I think Chris has been on a couple of shows with us. He's going to introduce himself, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know who he is, he's the guy that's been doing all this kind of stuff while we were playing the video live.
What are you
he
guys
was
talking about?
he was grooving to the music. Good to see you guys. Hoss, where are you? What are you doing, bro?
I am not in my home studio in Melbourne today. I am in northern New South Wales along the beach of all places. Although the weather is pretty rainy and dark and muggy, but I mean, like as I like to think, even the plants need to go to the pub sometimes and get a drink. So you can't look at it like that. But we've got a gig tonight with Daryl Braithwaite, and it should be cool if the rain holds out. We're doing a cool little seaside sort of, what do you call it? Like a wooden kind of style bar with playing in the beer garden. So if the weather holds out and stays dry enough, it should be good. About 500 or 600 people. So just a small, intimate little gig, but it'll be great. It should be fun.
Awesome.
So I'm currently in the motel room. Hence I'm sitting a bit low for the laptop, I think, but it'll be fine.
No, you're looking good, bro. And look, at the end of the day,
Thanks,
at the end of the day, bro, be thankful that you're out there gigging, and that you're doing that God made you to do, which is get out there and play music, bro, and make people happy. So, good on you for that. We've got a couple of shout outs to do quickly before we get into the show. We're missing one of the regular rap bags. His name is Brad, the Backdoor Man Cook. And if you guys aren't familiar with what Brad's been doing, he's away on holidays somewhere in some exotic island with his lady, enjoying himself. And we look forward to catching up with Brad and hearing some of the stories that he's been up to, Hoss and Chris.
Yeah, well, he's going to need all the rest that he can get before he starts carrying my 4x12s in and out of the corner hotel in a couple of weeks' time. So he's just resting those biceps and triceps,
Awesome. Yeah, that's going to be good. We're going to do a show tomorrow, so hopefully, bro, he might be back for that one. So we've got a bit of a special show tomorrow going on too as well. But look, guys, before we get into the show, I want to do a couple of shout outs, if that's okay. I want to do a shout out to Warren, good friend of the channel, who's going through some cancer treatment. We haven't heard from Warren for a long time. If anybody has heard from Warren, drop me a line, please, or let us know, because we are concerned, and but obviously people are entitled to their privacy too. But Warren, if you are watching this, or your family are, we do miss you, bro, and we do wish good things for you. Also here in Australia and New Zealand, for our North American viewers, it's a special weekend this weekend for us. It's called Anzac Weekend, Australia New Zealand Army Corps, and it goes back to our country's commitment to following the British Empire in World War One. So we celebrate, it's like your Memorial Weekend in the States. It's an important day for us because we celebrate the fallen that have gone and fought for our countries overseas. For me personally, it's a really important occasion. So I just want to say thank you to the servicemen and women in Australia and New Zealand who have served, continue to serve, and who have lost their lives, giving us this freedom that we have today. God bless you.
Yeah, well said, Andrew. And we have a national holiday here in Australia for it on Monday. But also, I mean, apart from celebrating the servicemen and women, I think it's a great acknowledgement of the brotherhood and the sisterhood of New Zealand and Australia too, because obviously we're pretty tight knit. We're so close together, and there's plenty of Australians that live in New Zealand. There's plenty of New Zealanders that live in Australia, unfortunately, and no, but it celebrates the relationship that we've had for a long time, and we definitely consider each other brothers and sisters. And there's only a little bit of water that really separates you two guys, Andrew and Chris, from me. So I think that is, apart from the throwback to world conflict and stuff, it's a great way to celebrate the closeness of new relationships.
Oh, absolutely, bro, and thank you for that. And I just want to say one more thing too. Hos is going to be saying hello and g'day to everybody in the chat. We've got a few people there. You're really, really important to us, and he's going to do that soon. But I just want to do a special shout out too, bro, if you guys can let me. So some of you will notice that you've got wrenches now. So those wrenches that you have in recognition for being followers of our channel to help us get to the stage we've got 1,000 subscribers. So tomorrow when we go live with Rock Professor and Brad, we're going to throw out some more wrenches. So if you guys have got a wrench, that's a small little thank you on behalf of the channel to you guys. And if anybody who doesn't have a wrench, who wants a wrench, let me know and I'll make you a wrench. Whew.
That sounds pretty good. Yes.
Awesome. Chris, have you got something to say?
Well, in light of the show, there's one Kiwi in ACDC.
Oh, okay. We'll get to that. He's the bad boy too.
Yeah. Well, there were some stories.
Yeah. Speaking of wrenches, Andrew, I just want to take the time to say massive congratulations to yourself and everyone involved for hitting the 1,000 subscriber mark. That's wonderful and well deserved. Well deserved.
Oh well, thank you, bro. It's an important achievement for the channel, and we've mentioned it before. It's been hard work. Everybody that's contributed to our channel, you guys know who you are, and you're all important to us. And we'll do everything that we can, Hos, to help anybody else build their channel. So in particular, if anybody is watching a replay of this channel, if you go to our community page, on our community page, please take 30 seconds and go and subscribe to everybody on that community page. In particular, Fruitcake Tony. A lot of those guys are in our chat here supporting us today. If you celebrate our achievement with them by subscribing to them, we'd be grateful. But go and check out everybody on that community page. And if you want to be on our community page, let me know and I'll put you there, because YouTube's about sharing, and our channel will certainly do that.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay, bro. You want to do a shout out before we forget?
I will certainly do some shout outs to the people that are in the chat already. We got Johnny Bean. Hey, Johnny, how you doing? I heard you weren't feeling so good, so I hope you're feeling better. We got Christine Taylor in the chat, who we haven't seen for a while, I don't think so. Hey, Christine. We got the illustrious John ZD351. How you doing, brother? John's angry with me at the moment because we've had to, move the date of the Eddie Van Halen celebration again, and John can't make it on this one, which is where, I'm spewing for that, brother. I promise. I really wanted you to, be my guest at the show. But we have Nelson Rodriguez. Hey, Nelson, how you doing? We got Charmaine Taylor in the UK, which is about 3 a.m. So as always, massive shout out to anyone in the UK watching at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's the hardest time of day to be up for me. We got Holly. Hey, Holly, how you doing? Ellen. Hello, Ellen. We've got Fruitcake Tony in the chat as well. Speaking of fruitcake, how you doing, brother? We've got Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Tim Thomas. We got Gretch Zeppelin and Keith Campbell. So, yeah, thanks for joining us, everybody.
Awesome. And Hos will do at the end of the show another awesome shout out to you guys. Hos, you do that so well, bro. I love it when you do that because you never miss anybody. You never miss anybody. You do it well. But
every now and again,
I want to do it.
The net, but
I just want to do one other special little shout out to Nelson Rodriguez, who is our first member on our levels that Facebook give you. Facebook give you a couple of little doors that you can pass through, and one of them is levels. Nelson, thank you for joining there, brother. And if you got, and YouTube, tell me that too. If you guys haven't joined, go and join. And somewhere on this video, I'll put a link for you to go and join our Facebook secret little group that we do secret little things on.
I love all the chat going on that goes on. I look over here because for whatever reason where I am, I can't see the comments apart from the big ones. So I'm looking over there where I've got it going somewhere else. And I appreciate everyone who talks. I mean, I haven't been on the show and I've been like just sitting there and talking with the people in the side, with their side. Awesome. The raddest thing. Yeah. Appreciate
Absolutely.
the hell out of a lot of you.
We got Christopher Lives now jumping in. Hey, Christopher, how you doing, brother?
Awesome. And that's what our channel's about, bro, too. You know, if you guys are in the chat and you want to jump on and hang out with us for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or, you know, do a full show with us in the future, just let me know. Let Brad know. Let Hos know. Just flick us a message. We'll make room. We'll make room for you. Just jump on and hang out. It'll be cool. Guys, so the topic of this show, I'm going to hand it over to Hos because we've already identified one of the reasons why Hos is going to do this is because of virtue of the fact of the blessing that he is an Australian.
Sure, why not? But handball it over to me. More than happy to. Well, you know, it's pretty well documented that one of Ed's favorite records was AC/DC's Power Age. And, you know, that record goes all the way back to 1978, which, of course, as we know, is also the year of Van Halen's first record, interestingly, you know. And there it is. Yeah, there's the cover that Chris is holding up there.
My favorite AC/DC album.
Is it your favorite one as well, Chris?
Yeah. All I listen to is this and the Bonfire box set and Back in Black. But yeah, this album, yeah.
So that's your favorite Bon Scott era album, and then Back in Black would be your favorite Bruce one.
I'm just a barbarian. I'm just a barbarian who just keeps listening to Power Age. Just put on Down Payment Blues until my girlfriend looks at me like I'm a maniac.
Yeah. And so
was that Ed's favorite album?
It was Ed's favorite album. Yeah, absolutely. And he said that in a couple of interviews, and it's been written a few other places as well, I believe. But yeah, so that's the one. I mean, it's well known that a lot of the cornerstone of a lot of rock bands is early AC/DC stuff. But it's just interesting to hear that Ed particularly singled out that album, you know. And, you know, if anyone knows any different to that in the chat, I mean, I know like you guys are a wealth of knowledge and you can definitely, you know, jump in and because I'm not an expert on, you know, those things about like what Ed's favorite records were. I just happen to hear that this was one of them. So if there's any other AC/DC albums that people have heard that he loved as well, then let us know.
I was reading in a David Lee Roth interview that was about 84 time. I think they were starting to, you know, tickle with each other. And he said that it was a time when he mentioned, we're on different stuff. It's listening to jazz and punk. And apparently he said Al was listening to AC/DC. He said Al is the only true rocker in the band who listens to AC/DC and that stuff, which I don't know that's fully true, but
yeah, right. Okay. Interesting. And what about you, Andrew? What's your knowledge of this?
Well, I suppose the connection for me, being a Kiwi, is obviously AC/DC. You know, an Australian band, albeit a couple of guys from Scotland. But you know, when I was old enough to remember or recognise the fact that AC/DC were an Australian band, it was a shock. And I was sort of, you know, listening to AC/DC, Hos and Chris around the same time I was discovering rock and roll music, rock music in general. And you guys have to remember, I'm older than you, and 1980 was when Back in Black came out. So I was listening to Back in Black in 81 with a couple of friends, and that album was just a killer. It was just phenomenal. Everybody that I knew, Hos, was listening to this album. It was fantastic. So again, that was the album that made me go backwards, you know. Yeah. So then you go and realize, oh, holy cow, there's you know, all these other albums, Chris, before this album, you know, and you sort of scratch your head in amazement when you're a young guy, don't you? Because you work out and you're trying to work out, how does this work? how can this band produce something so great like this and then have all this other stuff? So you just want to like quickly throw this record away, save some money, or go and steal some milk money so that you can go to the record shop and buy these other albums, or find somebody, Hos, who's got these albums and say, can you please go and
copy them on the tape?
Yeah. But AC/DC for me was always a special connection because they were Australians. And then I think must have been about the early 2000s, Hos, that I found out that there was that special connection between Eddie Van Halen and Powerage, and that kind of, I'm going to be honest with you guys, it kind of surprised me because I didn't think that would be something that Eddie would be, classifying as one of his greatest bands, or one of, an album that would inspire him deeply. I would have thought it would have been some American, rock band, like Allman Brothers or something like that. We all knew that Cream was really, really important, or Clapton in particular.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit surprised, Chris. I was a little bit surprised. But then when I developed an understanding again of what I was listening to and reading and picking up some other bits and pieces, you kind of realize the connection between what Eddie was doing and what AC/DC were doing.
It makes sense in some of the riffs, because like when I started like playing like some Van Halen on guitar, and you had played bits and bobs for several years, and you find some of the riffs, you'd think there'd be a bit more, but they'll be quite open, and there'd be a lot of, like, he played partial chords, but he'd do a lot of Ds or hit the certain A's and all that, and it's different. But you find an AC/DC, they'd have the same kind of, that kind of like what do you call it, caveman rock parts would come in there, but it just bang. And you can, AC/DC swings a lot more, right? There's a lot more swing going on with them, and that kind of groovy swing. But you can kind of hear, you can hear something in there, definitely. Like I was like relating the two together, and then when you listen to it, you go, oh yeah, right. It's bits and songs,
Yeah. Sorry, fellas, I dropped out there for a second, but I'm back.
Good to see you, bro.
Actually, Keith was saying a couple of interesting things in the comments. Well, one of them is, Ed was well known for saying that he thought his guitar style was kind of like falling down the stairs and landing on your feet. And Keith saying Ed always felt that Whole Lot of Rosie, the AC/DC song, was kind of like that for him. It was like an AC/DC version of falling down the stairs and landing on their feet, which I didn't know. Thanks, Keith, for that. There was something else that Keith was saying too. Oh yeah, that he particularly loved Down Payment Blues. I was having a close listen, of course, to the album in the week, and it's really interesting because I think that you can hear the seeds, the sort of the genesis of some of the Van Halen grooves and songs, and they're not like exactly the same, of course, because Van Halen didn't ever sort of rip anything, but you can kind of hear the inspiration for it. It's like close enough that you can sort of be where subconscious drawn from. So I found that really interesting, and I think that Down Payment Blues, actually, like once they get into the groove proper at about a minute in or whatever, it really reminds me of Good Enough, actually.
Yeah.
I heard that.
It's not exactly. It's got that same kind of beat and that same little chord. It's not identical, but it's, I was singing the verse of Good Enough over the top of it, and it works perfect,
We all know I'm the one.
Oh, yeah.
I also... Drop Dead Legs. Ned said that it's Back in Black but slowed down. And if you go back and listen to Back in Black and listen to Drop Dead Legs of '84, you're like, shit, it's kind of the same riff.
Yeah. I agree with that. I've heard that too, and actually, I think that's right. That sounds right to me. Yeah.
Well, that freaked me out when I heard that. And, I'll be honest, I never heard that connection, guys, until I read it somewhere and went back and listened to it and go, uh-huh. And obviously, if Eddie's telling you this and saying this in an interview, well, we got to take him at his word, if it's inspired by. But, look, I agree with you guys. I think it's phenomenal. One of the key things, too, that I've picked up by listening to AC/DC over the last couple of days, too, and everyone talks about, Eddie's right hand, the fact that he's got this beautiful ability to swing with Alex, and it goes back to, their jazz days. And it's certainly something that Chris said that obviously AC/DC have, and you got to have that, don't you? If you're playing rock music, if you don't have that, well, people aren't going to. You're not going to be able to pick that up in front of the audiences. So that's something I think both these bands have. I want to ask you guys, because both of you guys are guitar players. So who was the inspiration initially? Was it AC/DC or Van Halen for you guys as guitar players that lit the spark?
All right.
Hos.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think. And I think that actually I kind of discovered them at around the same age, which was around 12 years old. So it's probably hard for me to say that one significantly more than the other lit the spark. But I will say this, though. I mean, I listened to a lot of early AC/DC when I was young, because I was lucky. I had a guitar teacher who used to just keep giving me cassettes of stuff that he thought I was going to be into. And even though I was having classical guitar lessons, it was very clear to him that I was totally more excited by rock. So, anytime students would give him stuff to check out, he just handballed it straight to me, And so I used to listen to a lot of that early stuff. And my favorite early AC/DC album would probably be Dirty Deeds. I love some of the tracks on that. I love Ride On, how slow and kind of 2 a.m. that is, and how the dynamics and there's some killer tracks on Squealer. I love on that as well. And another one would be Let There Be Rock. I really like that album as well. It's funny, I never had Parage when I was a kid. So these songs actually I know now, but they're not kind of as part of my DNA as some of the other albums. So yeah, so that's kind of my tie-in. But I mean, I would say even when I was getting more into the rock stuff as a teenager, I listened to heaps of AC/DC, but I never really sat down and worked out all Angus's solos. But what's funny about that to me now is obviously it's still got in there somewhere, because I catch myself all the time playing a solo and I'll go, oh, that's completely an Angus Young lick,
Correct.
Even though I never really sat down and figured them all out, they're kind of in there anyway, So
yeah.
His solos are ripping. When you go back and listen to that stuff, you're like,
oh,
he's just going off.
The solo, for example, I mean, on Let There Be Rock, is just so killer. I mean, they're all killer, but, it's just funny, the ones that jump out at you straight away when you sort of think of Angus Young solos. But yeah. So it's no wonder, I saw someone in the comments was saying Sin City. Actually, if you play Sin City at about 20 seconds in, that is so close to the chorus of Panama, even like the way that you've got the E, the A, and the D. Ed does them in a kind of a different order. It's not exactly the same, but I feel like the vibe of it is kind of there, And again, obviously what I'm not saying is that Ed and Al were ripping AC/DC songs. I think we all know that wasn't the case. It's more just that when you're young and you're influenced by the records that you grow up with, there's no way it can't be subconsciously in your DNA, and it's given that Ed has said it's his favorite AC/DC record and one of his favorite albums of all time, it makes sense that some of their things would be kind of inspired by the spark of it, So, yeah, it's really, really interesting. But yeah, to me, Sin City, once it kicks in at about 20 seconds, sounds heaps like the chorus of Panama to me.
I want to go listen to it.
Chris is sitting there trying to think of it. Yeah.
What about you, Chris?
I mean, there's other
sorry, Hos.
No, keep going.
No, I was just gonna quickly say before you asked Chris that question is that, but it's funny because to me, there's actually about 3 songs on Parage that really remind me of different parts of Panama. Like the song, was it What's Next to the Moon? The start of that song kind of reminds me of the broken down verse, with the toms and that jumping. What's that? It's kind of, if you listen to the What's Next to the Moon, it's very similar to the verse of Panama. And then you got Sin City, which is like the chorus of Panama. And then even Rock and Roll Damnation doesn't have the same chord progression or anything, but it's got the feel of Panama. So it's almost like it's just this melting pot and they've put it all in a soup, you know?
Yeah. I've got a couple of things that I want to say, but I want Chris to answer the question. Chris, were you influenced by AC/DC first and
Van Halen? Van Halen, because when I grew up, I had I'm born mid-70s, and I had an older sister who was 9 years older than me, and I was lucky enough that when she was in high school, she had a rocker boyfriend, and he was into Van Halen and Judas Priest and Uriah Heep, and so I heard all that stuff as a kid. And so for me, Van Halen was, as a little kid, was normal. Like, I caught him more than once in our living room playing a tennis racket along to Van Halen, and you'd be like, and he'd be embarrassed looking at you, but you just kind of knew. Like, I didn't even know to play guitar, and I was like, Van Halen's, that's boss, man, it's the stuff. And maybe because I'm a Kiwi, but AC/DC's always been around. It's just been an institution. You get to high school and you got the guy. It's just, if you haven't heard it, it's like, what?
Yeah. I get what you're saying. Hey guys, I just want to do a quick couple of shout outs. We've got Christopher in the chat, and we also have Alan Garver in the chat. Hey Alan, and I saw a comment earlier by Kurt S5150. So thank you guys for jumping in and contributing to the channel. Thank you guys. I've got another question for you guys too, and obviously this is for everyone in the chat too. So we're talking about how Eddie could have been influenced by, or certainly was influenced by, the music of AC/DC. Guys, I'm going to say David Lee Roth must have been listening to Bon Scott too. I reckon you just listen to some of the scats, some of the especially on some of the stuff bootlegs live. There, I swear there's a bit of Bon Scottism coming through there, guys. Am I making this up, or am I just like on point here? Help me.
I was listening to the Courage today, and I was thinking of listening to the voice and Bon's rad voice. I think it's kind of like a mix between David and Sammy Hagar, if they were completely going for it, like Sammy Hagar trying to do David Lee Roth, if he was like partying up and going.
Yeah. I think that the kind of that irreverence and that cheekiness of David Lee Roth is totally in Bon Scott. I think that's where the similarities for that would be, for sure. And actually, Alan Garber makes a really good point in the chat, which I was going to get to. So you've beaten me to the punch, Alan. But that Sucker in a Three-Piece is essentially and almost exactly Down Payment Blues. I mean, for example, I'm going to get really nerdy here, right? If you queue up Sucker in a Three-Piece to 1 minute and 21 seconds, and you queue up, actually, Alan, I'm just looking at my notes here. I've got to disagree. I think Sucker in a Three-Piece is Up to My Neck in You, actually. So if you queue up Sucker in a Three-Piece to 1 minute and 21 seconds, and then queue up to My Neck in You to 1 minute 11 seconds, they're almost, Sammy's singing the same note. It's the same tempo. It's the same key and the same chords and everything. Look, Chris is getting in there. Look, I'm totally. If people disagree with me, I'm all for it. If tell me that I'm full of it.
I just heard it. But I just heard exactly what you said, mate. I've just heard it. You're right.
What do you think?
I've listened. Yep.
Yeah. Sucker in a cod piece.
We can't play. Can we not play that stuff on here? Will we have the algorithms of the YouTube going at us? Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's homework that we have to go and do away from the show. So. If Hos has got his computer there, if he wants to put that comment up, please, Hos, and that mark, and we'll put that as a banner. 1 minute.
Oh yes, okay. Give 13. Me 1 second. I'll type it into. Yeah, give me a sec. I'll type it into the comments, and then if anyone wants to quickly reference that or after the show, they can. But
or if you're like me, you barbarianly get your phone out, take a shot of the screen. That's what I would have done.
Okay, hang on. I'm just sticking it in the comments now.
But I have to agree with you. I just heard it now, and I'm fully on board with the analysis.
So I know that they didn't cross paths, did they? Until was it Monsters of Rock in '84?
Correct.
Right?
From my research, that's correct. They didn't.
And I know that Ed got on with Angus, but apparently Angus said he got on with Malcolm really well, and those two would go out and drink after the show in the hotel pub, play darts or something.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
So you are an Australian. How many times have you seen AC/DC?
Are you asking me, Chris?
Yeah. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah.
I have to tell you, and ashamedly, none. And that's not because I wouldn't love to or would not have always loved to. It's just one of those things where just shocking timing all the time. Pretty much from when I was old enough to want to go to AC/DC concerts, I was usually on tour and just kept missing it all the time. So, it's just one of those things. But, one of my favorite bands, of course, and like I was saying, I mean, as a kid, I really grew up with the stuff, especially the early Bond stuff, and probably the first two Brian Johnson records. And then after that, sort of not so much, which is really interesting because I had pretty much the exact same relationship with Van Halen. It was all the David Lee Roth era stuff and the first three Sammy records, and then kind of, that was kind of it for me. That's what's in my heart, and it's sort of the same thing happened with AC/DC. Was the first few records with the new singer, and then that's it,
What can you do when you're consummate professional and you're always out on tour?
Yeah, look, obviously, it's an incredibly fortunate life to have, but it does mean you miss a lot of concerts. Yeah.
Oh, the Day on the Green, as Keith is saying. So, what's the jazz there? Did they both play at that Day on the Green, or is that just them meeting and bumping heads?
So they played on that day, but they didn't meet apparently until the Monsters of Rock. The 84 gig in the UK that you mentioned, Chris. So that's when they first managed, apparently, according to what I've read. But you have to be careful because there's other reports out there which said that they didn't meet until the 1990s, which is clearly wrong. So
yeah. And I don't know what year it is, but I think it was about 1980, and I'm pretty sure hopefully someone in the chat, maybe Keith, will be able to tell me wrong. But apparently, Angus Young said the story that 2 a.m. in a hotel room. Have you guys heard that? His wife got it, the phone went and he picked it up, and he thought that she knew who it was, and in the end she's like, oh, Ed's on the phone, and he's like, Ed who? And apparently 2 a.m, Ed, who knows what he's doing, but he's like, you're crazy, you're insane, and apparently he's like, it's 2 a.m. It's 2 a.m. You guys heard that story?
Yeah, I read that too, and I tried to look that up in a couple of the biographies that are out, but there's no connection there. So maybe Steve Rosen might, Hos in his 700-page opus might mention that. But look, I'm familiar with that article that you referenced, Chris, and it's by a reputable guitar world author, so who I can't remember. So you got to take him at his word. But Angus apparently was on tour with his wife then, so he wasn't into partying because he just used to drink cups of tea, Hos, and things like that. He wasn't the party boy. The other one was. The other members were.
He wasn't a big party boy, apparently, was he? Just a chain smoker.
Yeah. Everyone's got their vice, Yeah. Absolutely. And actually, I'd just like to say shout out to Jason Tong in the chat. Hey, Jason, how you doing? He made a really good point too before about don't forget the rhythm aspect of both AC/DC and Van Halen, about that swing and that right-hand pocket. And I could not agree with you more. I just think that's even when AC/DC aren't technically doing a shuffle in terms of swing like that, but there's a swing in it, there's a swagger and a coolness and a deep pocket in that stuff that actually a lot of, the what you might call, say, the corporate 80s kind of rock bands, they could kind of play the AC/DC chord progressions, and they'd have the big bass drum and all of that stuff, but they didn't have the swing and the swagger. And to me, that was what it's what you can't imitate, in those bands. It's what you can't imitate in Van Halen as well, like that Eddie's right hand and maybe Alex's right hand as well on the ride cymbal or whatever he's doing on the hi-hats. It's those right hands that's what makes them so unique and so personal, And I think that Malcolm was a huge part of that. DC. Yeah.
So Alan's got a comment here saying, I have to recommend to everyone to check out the Easy Beats, another Australian great band. Go and check them out. Again, Australians and New Zealanders are very familiar with them. There is no AC/DC without them. The Easy Beats were so far ahead of their time. They made killer power pop. Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Alan, for mentioning that. Go and check out the Easy Beats. There's even videos of them playing live on YouTube. Well worth it. Thank you, Alan.
Easy Beats is Friday on my mind, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
And if anyone doesn't know what Jason does, one amongst many things, what he does is build incredible amplifiers, head-first amplifiers based in Melbourne, my hometown. I was going to say here in Melbourne, but I'm not in Melbourne right now. So please, if you haven't checked out Jason's stuff, go and do that for all the guitar heads here.
Do you know what
Jason did a really. Do
you know the website link for that?
I could find it out in 1 second. Give me a sec there, brother.
Yeah, I'd love to look at it.
Oh, yeah. It's just headfirstamplification.com.
Okay.
I'll find that and put that in the chat, guys.
Lovely. Thanks, Andrew. Yeah.
No problem.
Killer.
Trying to find
killer.
A bit.
And we've got Greg Roberts. What's that, bro?
No, you do your thing, man. I'll wait.
No, I was just saying hello to a couple of people that have just joined in. We got Greg Roberts and we got Mike Rogers. Hey, fellas, how you doing? Yeah, what are you reading? What are you reading there?
Oh, it's just one of the Van Halen books,
Yes.
I was reading somewhere. I don't know. I was trying to work it out. Like, if someone in the chat can tell us what their first, if it was a day on the green, but there is a quote apparently of Ed being backstage, doing something, hearing this kind of monster kind of raw thing going on, and going to the side of the stage, seeing AC/DC play for the first time, and coming back to the band and going, we got to follow that,
Yeah.
You guys know where that's from? I'm completely blowing any credibility by not going, oh, that came from this. Anyone?
Absolutely. Love it. I'm gonna stick something else in the chat that getting back to what seems to me anyway as some possible kind of subconscious inspiration that Ed and Alex might have used is Best of Both Worlds is a little bit to me like the verse of Best of Both Worlds. It's got that sort of almost fingerpick thing that Ed does. It's sort of like a quiet down vibe. It's almost like Gone Shooting at about 30 seconds in. And the chorus of Best of Both Worlds. What's that?
Dropping the science. I have so much homework.
I just love it because it's so fascinating to me. Obviously Ed's one of my heroes, but finding out the stuff that influenced him first, it's endlessly fascinating to me. And, that's why I'm saying if anyone references this stuff and thinks I'm full of it, just tell me so. That's all good for me. It's it could be use my imagination too hard, but I definitely hear something, even if it's kind of like loosely, I hear something, but and I feel like Give Me a Bullet is almost kind of the chorus of Best of Both Worlds a little bit, It's almost like if you take a part of this song and a part of that song, then you kind of almost get one Van Halen song, So
we need to email all the guests the liner notes. Albums
Well,
to
what I'll
check.
do, I'll see if this works for a start. Hang on. Hey, here we go. Burp. Yeah, so I just stuck that in the chat, and so if anyone wants to reference that and see what you think, let me know. No problem.
And we all know that, I imagine we all know that AC/DC apparently Wolfie said was the only band that Ed sat with him and said we should get into this dude.
Yeah, and Christopher Live Sours just saying that Fastway opened for them. That's interesting. I haven't heard anyone talk about Fastway for a long time. Didn't they do, Christopher? You can tell me.
Nice one, Christopher.
Yeah, didn't they do the soundtrack for a movie that Gene Simmons produced or something called Trick or Treat? It was kind of like a horror.
Fastway and Trick or Treat.
I have a funny feeling they did the whole soundtrack to that movie because when I was a kid, I loved that soundtrack. So if anyone knows about that, please tell me. I'd love to know. But I'm pretty sure I remember reading on the back of the record that the guitarist's name was Fast Eddie Clark. So it's got to be the same band.
Trick or Treat. You're correct. 86. They did the soundtrack for it. Trick or Treat original motion picture soundtrack featuring Fastway. Wow.
Yeah, cool. Great. There you go.
Right.
Thanks, Christopher, for that little nugget. Beautiful. Greg Roberts is asking, where's Brad? Brad's on holiday.
Yeah. If you guys are friends with Brad, go and find him on Instagram. Brad Cook Music. Go and follow him on Instagram. He's posting pics, either that or his ladies posting pics anyway of them enjoying themselves, having a great time. Well deserved.
Well, if you got in Facebook, if you call it face stalking, I wonder what it is on Instagram.
Yeah. Guys, I just want to do just a quick little shout out. So we're throwing out some wrenches there to people that have been with us for a long time. That's our celebration. That's our little gift to you guys for being with us from the start. Please use those wrenches wisely. That means that you guys are moderators. So don't ban anybody, please. You know that. Don't do anything silly willy, please. Thank you.
Nice. What else we got?
Hey, Fruitcake Tony said he's lucky enough to see them twice. I missed that. Who did Mr. Fruitcake Tony? Who did you see twice? Luckily, is he talking about AC/DC?
Well, we know it's not Van Halen.
Exactly.
Because Chris, he's seen them. 40? How many? 46 times?
Yeah, tell us, Fruitcake Tony, how many times? Put it in the chat.
What?
It's a lot. I can't remember either. I just know it's a lot.
What?
Yeah.
He's seen Van Halen
for real.
46 times.
Yeah.
I'm in New Zealand. We get this thing, and it's like, New Zealand, it's all clean and green. It's beautiful here. It is beautiful, and we all are very friendly people. But I ain't seen Van Halen 961 times.
That's the price you pay for living in such a beautiful, unspoiled green country, is that you don't get to see Van Halen very much.
I've seen them 36 times.
Wow, that's awesome.
One for each of his years.
Yeah.
That's the one band.
There you
go. One band that I wanted to see and never got to see. Yeah. Well, what can you do?
There you go. 42. Wow.
One for each of his years. One for each of his years. Hos.
Mr. Fruitcake. When was the first?
Years, that's right.
When was the first? What year was the first? I saw them in 78. Let's just change the title of this whole show to Chris cries about all the people that seen Van Halen.
It's too depressing. Yeah. Classic.
Oh no, Holly said that she saw them in 78 and can't remember a thing.
Well, that must have been a good night then, I can only imagine.
I saw a Priest like Judas Priest that once like that. I've seen Priest 3 times and I was very happy. One of them, I went with a bunch of friends. Where I am in Auckland's the main city in Auckland, and there's a thing called the out west they call Westies, which are kind of your rocker kind of like dudes into cars and stuff. And that day was a whole day, lots of bands playing, and I was going to go see Judas Priest, and I was mega stoked. Anyway, beforehand, we were at one of their friends' houses, and we were having a couple of pre-show drinks. There's about 30 of us there. And I was like, I'm just going to have one beer. I'm just going to have one beer. I don't want to be having to go whiz through the day. 2 hours later, that completely changed as all the alcohol was free, including all the spirits. And so, yeah, by the time I got to that show, I think Priest played at 4. All I remember, it was about 9 of us, and we were hugging each other while we were singing Turbo Lover at the top of our voices. And all I remember is Rob Halford occasionally going, yeah. People just like, yeah. And after the show, I remember just smashing my phone by mistake, calling my girlfriend and saying, I'm ready to come home now. Let's go get pizza. So I'm there. Great show. Don't remember a thing. I do know I loved it. You see that down there? Stevie Ray Vaughan got himself a Kiwi because there's a lot of stories. There's stories about him being here. Not bad stories, but stories of like, do you know any of those stories?
Yeah. Well, he used to. In the industry that I work in, there's a couple of guys that were very good friends with Midge Marsden and the Mud Sharks, and they were guys that used to live in Raglan, which is a beach location not far from my city, Hamilton. And Stevie Ray Vaughan used to hang out with Midge Marsden. In fact, there's a famous advertisement, a TV advertisement, and it's on YouTube, a Europa ad where Stevie Ray Vaughan, it's called Traveling On. I'll put a link to that after I've spoken about it. You guys need to go and check it out. Filmed here in New Zealand. And Yana was his partner at the time, and they used to hang out at Raglan. And I knew 3 guys that were at the Raglan pub just drinking one night, and Stevie Ray Vaughan jumped on and played with the Mud Sharks. And
no way.
Mate, I've got to take these guys at their word. I've got to take, yeah, bro. And Stevie Ray Vaughan played at the Raglan Hotel, playing with the local bar band, which is semi-famous here in New Zealand. Midge Marsden's, one of the blues pioneers in the late 80s. Well, right through the 80s, late 70s, right through the 80s, touring the local pub scene, playing music, what we called pub music, and did pretty well. But yeah. So, but I can't confirm that. I can only tell you that people have said that to me. So
I've heard stories. I'm not from where I am in New Zealand at the moment, from the other end of the other island, but I've heard stories of people here. Apparently he was in Auckland for a while, and he was seen wandering. He does a couple of the jam bars that were on K Road, one of the main strips in Auckland, and apparently he was there. I don't know how long has he been here a couple of times, or was it just the once he came through?
No, he stood here because I saw him in the late. No, I think he's been here officially at least a couple of times.
Okay,
but it's been a while since I can't remember exactly, but I'm going to put this ad because you guys need to check it out. This is just world famous. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? Can I play it? Do you guys have a problem if I play this ad?
Not at all.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to play it here. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Share screen. Give me a second, guys. Share audio. I'm going to play it here. This was filmed in New Zealand. Stevie Ray Vaughan. All right.
But the road is long, but the time is short. You can have your fun, just don't get caught.
That's Yana.
Working out exactly like you thought. Time that you was traveling on.
Yeah,
whoa.
that's it.
Traveling on. Everybody traveling on.
That's Midge Marsden playing the harmonica.
And ring my bell. Sun shine on your back door. Don't love it, we're breaking any laws. Everybody traveling on. Travel on. Traveling on. Traveling on. Everybody traveling on. With the wind my house and the rain my paw. Sun still shine on your back door. Don't love it, we're breaking no laws. Everybody traveling on. Traveling on. Traveling on. Traveling on. Everybody traveling on. Everybody traveling on. Traveling on. Traveling on. Traveling on. Travel on that, slip on down the road.
Wow. Pretty cool,
Awesome.
eh?
Yeah.
Pretty cool. And that was Yana running down the road at the start. That was Stevie's partner at the time. Yeah. Famous ad. And who said that Kiwis can't play the blues? Hos and Chris, eh?
Exactly. I never said that.
How the hell did we get off topic? From talking AC/DC and Van Halen to Stevie Ray Vaughan. Alan Garber again.
Courage.
Fantastic.
I remember that ad. So you're right. You're right. So you'll be like, you'll be like, they didn't play that whole thing, like 3-minute ad on TV, right? So what did they? I remember bits and pieces of it though. Do you think they chopped it up and made an ad out of it?
Yeah, they chopped it up, but back in the olden days here in New Zealand, for our North American friends, we only had 2 TV channels for the longest time, and then we had 3 TV channels. And on Sunday nights before the movies, it was a big deal, for New Zealand families, to watch the movie that was on Channel 2. And back then they would show TV ads every 15 minutes. But leading up to the movie, they would play like longish kind of ads. And that's normally when they would play that kind of ad, because it's 3.5 minutes or 3 minutes long or something like that. Normally they're 30 seconds. But when you're a young guy getting into Stevie Ray Vaughan and you see this on TV, you get the VHS Hos and you record it. You record that. You record that sucker and you're playing it.
Yeah, half my childhood was just watching TV with the VHS recorder, just ready to hit record at anything that was cool, Yeah, that was fun. I actually really enjoyed that. I can't imagine being, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old and not having that experience of wanting to capture something so badly. You would just sit with the VHS, like with MTV or whatever was on, and just ready to hit record the minute something that was so exciting for me. And I used to make, like we all did, they'd end up being like a compilation VHS tape of like all my favorite stuff. And then I would just, when there was nothing on TV, I would just play that round and round,
See, and look at our American friends. 2 TV channels. That's hilarious.
Now we got 4. Now we got 4, and if we're lucky, we can put on a cardboard box.
I love cracking up my American friends when I tell them that. They just can't. No North American can believe a first world country having up into the mid 1980s 2 TV channels.
Well, here in Australia, we only had, I think, like 6, maybe like that, like six or 7. And I remember being a kid watching movies and hearing Americans talk about like 30 or 40 channels, and that you said I couldn't even comprehend it. I was like, what?
I know.
Yeah. It's like that line from Back to the Future where you go, oh, he's kidding. No one has 40 channels.
I know.
You know that line? No one has 2 TVs. Yeah. John says he's still got 30 VHS tapes of music. Yeah, I actually think I've still got most of mine in a box somewhere. I don't think I threw any of those out, you know.
Yeah. I was just looking at that quote. You're just putting it on, right? Like the Eddie identified with Malcolm and Angus. Yeah. It's like, I thought it was cool, insightful. Yeah. Maybe he did. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's interesting too, because there's a recent article that I stumbled upon a couple of days ago, and I think you mentioned it earlier, Chris. So sorry if I'm repeating it, but I think it was a comment that Wolfgang was making about how his dad told him. I think you mentioned that his dad said to him, "Go and listen to this album" or something, or he was making reference to Wolfgang when they were touring in 2015, I think, to check the album out, or to make sure at least, you know, that he had listened to it.
What album?
Power Age.
Oh. Oh. Hey, that's a good album. Hey, you guys check it out. I recommend Riff Raff. Pretty good.
Yeah.
At some point, I don't know, tell me if I'm getting off topic. At some point, do we talk about what's been going around in the Van Halen world news-wise in the last week or two?
Might be a good time to talk about it, bro.
Yeah, I'm good to do that. I'm going to have to split in about 20 minutes, gents, for my sound check. So if there's any other stuff we want to cover, let's go for it. I'm all about it. But Chris, do you want to kick it off?
I'll probably just jumble the bits and pieces together, but we all know the Jason Newsted slip up, right? Everyone's heard of everyone. We know that in the news, which is interesting that somebody said, Joe Satriani said that in the music world, there's always like 10 different ideas thrown up in the air at one time, and possibly something could come out of something, but you don't really talk about it. And apparently he said that they had done some auditions and were, I don't know if they signed anything, but they were verbally sworn to secrecy about it. But if anyone out there doesn't know, Jason Newsted, who used to play bass in Metallica before he left, he came out at, what was it, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and said that he'd been in talks with Alex and with David Lee Roth to do a tribute tour? Was it a show or was it a tour?
It's a little bit vague, the wording. You know, different people have got a slightly different version, but essentially some sort of a tribute thing. Yeah.
And so he slipped up, and then it came into the news. Who was next? Was it Joe Satriani came ahead and said that he'd been talking to them?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Come on, one of you guys jump in on my blatted, crazy story here and tell us all the facts in a nice, clean style.
Well, look, obviously it's a little bit hard to separate fact from fiction, probably, you know, and exactly if Alex is planning on doing anything, then what he has in mind, you know, it could be sort of a bit like Chinese whispers where the message is getting a little bit distorted along the way. But so regardless of that, all I can tell you is what I think about it. And I think that if what Alex is thinking of is a way of starting something long-term, still under the banner of Van Halen, then I think that's weird. I don't think that there should be any recording of an album or anything in the future. That I just don't think you can call it Van Halen without Eddie. I think if Alex wants to play, I would love to hear Alex playing. You know, he's one of my favorite drummers of all time. And but if it's about a long-term project, I think you should call it something else. You know, And so that's firstly what I think about that. Secondly, if it's meant to be a short-term thing and he just wants to do some concerts around the States or whatever, and as a way of, paying tribute to his brother, then I don't think it should be with one guitarist. So if it's that Joe Satriani is the only guy that's been asked, honestly, I love Joe. I grew up with Joe like we all did, but I don't really want to hear Joe doing a whole night of Van Halen songs. I would rather that Alex is on drums. And this is the other thing. I think if Michael Anthony's not on bass, it's totally weird for me. I'm sorry, but I just think if it's just Alex with a different bass player and Joe Satriani, well, then it's kind of like some sort of version of Chickenfoot or something. It's just, it's a different thing. But if it's for real and it's about paying tribute to Ed, then obviously Michael Anthony would have to be on bass. And I think what you should do is, and you could take the pressure off Dave and Sammy too, have a rotating thing of special guest singers and special guest guitarists, and I think for me that would be great and that would work fine. And that way you can pay tribute to Ed, where each person plays a couple of songs perhaps, and they do it in their own way, but they're playing it with Al and Mike. I could see that being kind of exciting. But beyond that, I just think anything else is going to be weird,
Has anyone heard anything from Alex about it though? It's the one guy I don't hear much about. No. But I heard it was a tribute, and they keep saying it's in honor to the memory of Ed. I don't think it's supposed to be I think it's from what I take, a short-term thing. But I read the other day, David Lee Roth piped up and said that because of the world of COVID at the moment, that they'd have two of everyone. So I think that's why Newstead was used, because they were hopefully Michael Anthony. But so David Lee Roth said that they were probably, I heard set through him, whatever he was saying, Satriani and Vi for the guitar. And Tommy Lee is the other drummer apart from Alex. And whoever the other bass player would be, I don't know. But he said that's because of the world of COVID. If someone can't do one show, so that probably says it's going to be more than one, then they can they got back at spares.
Yeah. Yeah, look, we've all got theories and we've all got opinions, and that's why we do these shows, Hos and Chris, and everybody in the chat has their own opinion too. So I'm going to pipe up with what I think should happen. There's some great tribute concerts that's been performed in the past that have given us a great blueprint on what we could do. The tribute to George Harrison, for example, that Clapton organised after George Harrison passed away, where they had exactly what Hos was saying, different musicians coming through, playing different songs and different vocalists for different songs, worked wonderfully well. They DVD'd it. They put it out onto CD and LP. The production went into it was fantastic because they knew that it was going to be a statement. It was going to be something in rock and roll history moving forward forever. And I think this is what they should do with Eddie. They need to have something like this. Whether it goes on the road, well, I don't care. But I think Eddie Van Halen deserves to have something. They've got to organise something. I'm going to shout out. I'm going to chuck this out. I heard this a couple of hours ago by somebody, and I'm not going to mention this person because they should do it themselves. But we were having a conversation, and they mentioned something like maybe all these different opinions coming out might be pushed by record companies or by promoters into coming out having these conversations to make it a bit more public, to push the Van Halens into making a decision. To come out and say, look, what are we going to do? Because as Holly said in the chat, we don't know anything until Alex Van Halen says something.
I agree. Well said, Andrew. And yes, I totally agree that Eddie should have some sort of a massive tribute style concert that can be recorded, and then it can end up, on a streaming service, as or it could be even done as a limited series, like if they did the show multiple times and they had so many different guests, they could do it as like a 3-part, like the Beatles thing, I think there's scope for all of that. But I think, and Keith was saying something interesting in the comments, like, why have a drummer for Alex? I understand that maybe like in case COVID hit someone, you've got to have a backup. But to me, I think if Alex is too sick to do the show, you cancel the show, right? It's like,
I'm just going to jump in, Hos. And so Mick Fleetwood, a couple of years ago, just before COVID hit, he did a tribute gig for Peter Green, and he was playing drums, and he got Ringo's Zach Starkey to play drums with him because he admitted it. He said, "I'm getting older now," so they had two drummers. Just to carry that extra weight because, Mick is, not a young man anymore. So they can do that. They can get like, I think Chris was saying earlier, someone mentioned Tommy Lee. Well, if that's the best drummer they can get to drum with Alex Van Halen.
That was David Lee Roth who said that.
It was Roth. Yeah. But
have two drummers. Sorry, bro.
No, you're good. Look, for me, I'm not interested in seeing a tribute to Eddie with Tommy. I love Tommy Lee, but I don't want to see a tribute to Eddie that's put together by Alex, but with Tommy Lee playing drums. To me, if it's not Al and Mike, to me it's not. Yeah. It's not a proper tribute. And I think, like Christopher's saying in the chat there, have like a bunch, like 30 different guitarists, have 5 different singers. I think all of that is totally cool. But I just think if Roth is being correct in saying that everyone's got like a stand-in in case of COVID, well, I mean, that's like saying that'd be like going to a Van Halen concert if Eddie was still alive, but he got COVID, so somebody else is playing guitar tonight. It's just bizarre. It's too weird to me, I mean, I would want my money back for sure.
Yep.
Maybe that with them saying, "Oh, well, we have backup people." Maybe it's because that's some indication that there's been serious talks about doing more than one. Maybe they were going to do like a run of shows somewhere. Yeah.
Look, I think if you're going to take it on the road, that would make more sense than to have some backups. But still, like imagine, like let's say, for example, you live in Seattle and the show comes to Seattle and Alex is sick, so you got the whole night with no Alex. See what I mean? It's like, to me, just cancel the show or reschedule it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, well, look, I agree with you because I want to go and see Alex Van Halen. I want to go and see a tribute show personally. Yeah. I don't want to see Tommy Lee drumming. I wouldn't mind seeing Tommy Lee on a kit next to Alex Van Halen, helping him, drum a lot. I don't have a problem with that.
I don't have a problem with that either, and I don't have a problem with even if Tommy Lee was to jump up and play a song. I got no problem with that, but I don't want to see Tommy Lee do the whole show and no Alex. To me,
what's Jerry doing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but to me, if I want to see Alex and Mike play together the whole night, but with different guitarists and singers. That's what I would want to see as a tribute to Ed. And anything that's not that, I don't know.
I'd love to see Alex and Mike playing together.
Wouldn't we all? I think it would be. I know that everyone's had their differences, but I think with Ed gone now and that everyone's older and hopefully a little bit wiser, like build a bridge and get over it for the sake of a tribute concert. Surely you can put that behind you,
Yeah.
Surely it can't be that bad that you couldn't get together to do a couple of concerts to pay tribute to Eddie. That's what I think. But, maybe there's more to all these stories than we will ever know. Who knows?
Oh, right. I was thinking about Wolfie playing bass, and Holly said that Wolfie said that he's out and didn't want to do it.
Correct.
Yeah, I think Wolfie's pretty adamant that he just doesn't. I totally respect that, but
yeah,
I'd be more interested in seeing Alex with Mike on bass and Wolfie on guitar. Actually, I think that, given that he's Eddie's son, that would make a lot of sense to me. But anyway. But Wolfie's not interested, and he's said so 1,000 billion times to everyone. And I respect him for that he just doesn't want to be under the shit. I totally respect that. And he's doing great too. Mammoth are doing killer. So, good luck to him.
Yeah, more power to him for just, not trying to just jump under the flag, and that'd be a nightmare for every part of his existence and scenario. And what he's doing now is just awesome. Awesome. And his bass playing in Van Halen was awesome.
Yeah. Well, actually, Keith Campbell says it perfectly. I would love to see. Yeah, exactly, Christopher. Keith Campbell says it perfectly. I would love to see Wolfie open for the tribute concert, doing his own Mammoth stuff. That would be special, because then you've got Eddie's son opening for a tribute concert to Eddie. I think that would be awesome. That's a great idea, you know. And then, like I said, you got Alex and Michael up there with a rotating who's who of well-known, famous people that Eddie influenced. That would be amazing, you know.
Have you guys thought of this, though? The longer it takes for the Van Halen group to make a decision on what they're going to do with this, somebody is going to pull finger and do it anyway, Hos and Chris. You know, so, you know, because there's money to be made. People are playing gigs now. Stadiums are starting to fill. Someone's going to pull the trigger and do something and cash in. So, yeah, we don't want to see that happen either, do we? We don't want to see it turn into just a money-making thing as well. Because, you know,
definitely.
People might just jump on board with that offering anyway, Hos.
Yeah, look, I also agree. I think that obviously for putting on a show that size, you have to cover all your costs. There's a lot of expenses and the venue hire and all of that stuff. But beyond that, I think that they should be donating the ticket money to Mr. Holland's Opus, which was Ed's charity that he gave to, you know. So I think that if it becomes a money-making exercise, then the whole thing kind of gets painted with kind of the wrong brush, you know, so to speak. I don't know. It all depends. I don't actually think Alex would be doing it for the money. I think he genuinely would want to be doing a tribute to his brother. But I just think you're right, Andrew. If someone else put it together and it became a money-making thing, I think that'd be a shame. Oh, thank you, Keith. Now, as far as which guitarist, that's a fun conversation that everyone's having around the world. But it's what I would like to see would be all the guys that I grew up with that Eddie influenced, like your Nunos and Vais and Satrianis and who knows, maybe John Mayer, Joe Bonamassa. It doesn't even have to be exactly in Eddie's style. Just the way that he's changed the guitar landscape would be killer, you know.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I would love to see John Bonamassa playing Finish What You Started. I would love, or even Mike Campbell from Tom Petty's band. You know, it doesn't have to be a Nuno. It doesn't have to be a Vi. You know,
it doesn't have to be a shredder at all, really.
Yeah,
I mean, it can be a blues. It doesn't. I just think it's a round table or a carousel. I think, as Alan Garber said in the comments, of great guitarists of all styles that have acknowledged that Eddie played a part in shaping who they are as an artist. You know, I think that would be a really exciting concert to go to, because then as guitar heads and music lovers, you'd be going to a concert where you'd be seeing all your favorite guitarists of different styles in one place playing with Alex and Mike. Man, that would be a hoot, you know.
Yeah, of course, Mayer and Brad Paisley. Again, bro, I've got no argument if those guys jumped on board and had a crack. Yeah,
I don't think it should be 80s metal shredders specifically at all. I think that could almost make it cheesy, actually, if it was limited to that style of guitarist. I'd like to see all styles of guitarists do their thing and play a Van Halen song. Why not? You know.
Well, look, Greg Roberts' tune is saying something, or a new musician. How about this? How about do exactly what Keith was mentioning? Why don't they just take some Instagram guitarist or some YouTube guitarist who's built a reputation, there's a few of them, and chuck them on stage? Why not? You know, the new medium. This is the new medium, and this is what's happening. You know, Hos from Melbourne.
Well, they had all the guys, they had Alex, and they had all those guys, and they just had all the different. Imagine if they got all the Van Halen tribute bands that are around the world, and they got all the Eds and those tribute bands to come along and go, "What's on? Can I play Pound Cake? Yeah, sure. Can I play Hot Potato? Yeah, sure." That'd be rare, because then, like yourself, Hos, you got people that love the music, have learned to play it with the pizzazz and the jazz that's going on from Ed. That'd be cool. You'd have like the Van Halen guys and all the guy,
Yeah, something's
Yeah,
going to happen.
I just think for the concert that I would want to see, I would want to see Al and Mike play with the guitarists that I grew up with. The only way I can talk about it is what I would want to pay the money to go and see, and that's what I would want to go see. There are a lot of really, really incredible guitarists out there that play in Van Halen tribute shows or whatever that maybe are not famous, but they're unbelievable players, and probably in some cases might even play the stuff better than the famous dudes. However, I just think that's not really a ticket seller. That's all. I think that, when you got like Brad Paisley and John Mayer and maybe, Nuno and Slash and whoever like this who's who, that's going to sell some tickets, and then some real money can go to charity,
You were so true there. Yeah, you're right. If promoters are putting this on, it's like, get Slash. Get Slash.
Yeah.
What do you mean he's in this band called Fat Halen? I don't know Fat Halen. Get Slash.
Exactly. Hey, kids, I'm going to have to bolt to my sound check, unfortunately. But why don't I do like another shout out before I do that, Andrew?
Yeah, we're going to do that, bro. If you can just give me 2 seconds. Thank you, bro, for jumping on. Thank you, Chris, for jumping on. Chris is going to join us on more and more of the 5150 shows, because I'm sure we're going to be having some holes with some of the hosts. So we look forward to Chris hanging out with us a little bit more, bro. Have a killer show. Thank you for joining us.
Guys.
Everybody is obviously behind what you want to do with your band, so we look forward to that. Please tell everybody before you do the final shout out what's happening with Fair Warning and the tribute show, please, again.
Sure, no problem. Look, in a way, my what's the right way of putting it? Like my passion for Eddie Van Halen and the music of Van Halen, the band, is satiated already by the little show that I'm putting together, which is, for anyone that doesn't know, it's May 19 in Melbourne at the Corner Hotel. And it almost is a bit like we've got special guest singers getting up and doing different things. If anyone wants to see a little promo of it, it's on my YouTube channel, which is just my name. And that'll be Thursday, May 19 in Melbourne. We will definitely be doing some really fun and special live crosses. We're going to go to the 5150 show live during sound check and everything. So for the people not in Australia, not in Melbourne, if you want to tune into that, should be fun. You can see, hopefully sound check will go well, but that's the beauty of doing stuff live, is who knows what it's going to be, but you'll be a part of it, and so that'll be fun. So that'll be Wednesday evening in the States, but it'll be Thursday, sort of mid-afternoon here in Oz. So yeah, again, if you're curious or haven't seen that, check out my YouTube channel. You'll see it on there. And that's about it. We've had a bunch of people joining into the chat, so I'll do another shout out. We've had Helene join in. Hey, Helene. Mike Rogers. Jason Tong from Headfirst Amplification. If you haven't checked out his amps, please go jump online and do that. Greg Roberts. We've got Alan Garber, the Wealth of Knowledge. Kurt 5150 was in before. We've got Christopher Live Sauer. Johnny Bean was in. Christine Taylor. John ZD351. Nelson Rodriguez. Charmaine in the UK at the ungodly hour of 3:30 a.m. We've got Holly, we've got Ellen, Fruitcake Tony, Sandra, who's had to bail, and Tim Thomas, Gretch Zeppelin, and of course, the one and only Keith Campbell. So thanks so much, everyone, for joining in the chat. I'm sorry I've got to bolt a little bit earlier than normal, but the boys are waiting for me down at the gig now, so I've got to go and tune some guitars.
Awesome. All right, bro. We'll catch you later.
Good.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks. Have a great day and have a great evening. Cheers.
Okay, bro. So we're gonna we're gonna wrap it up. But I just wanted to just say thank you to you, Chris, for coming in, filling in for Brad while he's away on vacation. We appreciate the fact that you've taken that time out. But you didn't get to explain to us about your discovery of AC/DC. You mentioned something that you heard about AC/DC when you were at high school. When did it actually fall into place? What album was it that it clicked? Because I think I was a little bit like you too. I think I may have heard AC/DC. I don't know, but certainly it was the Back in Black album that clicked it for me.
Well, first, thank you, Holly, for a message you sent there. It's very nice about my puppet show. I don't know, but you actually, when you were asking me that question, just memory went back in my brain, and it links to AC/DC, I suppose. And I was like, of course, I haven't mentioned this story for ages. But so, like the rest of us who play guitar, I remember being without telling everyone the backstory, I was like a skateboard kid, and when I got to high school, my best mates were the musos, and I'd hang out the musos in the music block in my in school. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people back then were like, figured I was one of those guys, because I'd always, when I wasn't off skateboarding, I'd just go and hang out with them. That's who I'd hang out with. And anyway, blah blah blah. I remember being early high school and going, relates to AC/DC, and going to a party. It's some guy's house, to cliche, when their parents aren't home and everyone's there. So the guy who had the party, he had an SG, I know that now, and he played guitar. He went to a different high school than me, because you don't need my life story, but I went to high school in the city and I lived at the beach. And this was, I go to parties with the local high school from the beach. Blah, blah, blah. So I'm at the party, get to the point, and he at one point had gone to his bedroom and he was playing guitar, and he was a big AC/DC fan, and he was probably was still late 80s, and he was and a lot of people go, whoa, cool, yeah, well, Johnny's really good at playing guitar, cool. And then that trickled down for a while, and people were in and out of the room. And anyway, it got to the stage where I was there with my guitar head mate. My best mate in high school was a guitar head, and there was about 3 or 4 of us in the room, and he went to me, because I plucked along on a bass and plucked along on an acoustic guitar, and he's like, dude, have a go. It was a guitar through an amp, and I was like, oh no, I'll be cool. And I waited. There was about 2 people in the room, and it sounds cliched, it's like a lot of people do. I remember putting that guitar on, and it just kind of going
bang,
boom, and I mean, it's hitting that E string, I think it was open, and it just went across the room. And it's cliched as it is, but I remember in that moment, I swear to God this is true, I remember in that moment just hitting that chord, and that's what I did. And I went, oh my God, this is the best thing in the world. This is the best thing in the world. And I remember I said to myself in that moment, I said to myself in that moment, I don't know what's going to happen in life. I don't know if I'm going to have a wife, or I'm going to have a job, or what's going to happen to me in life. But if I can make enough money to buy one of these, then I've already won. Yep. And I was like, if I'll work the crappiest job, I'll clean toilets, it doesn't matter. If I get to go home afterwards on my own, if I don't know anyone and I'm a loser, and I go home and I play my guitar crappily to myself, then I've already won. I've won in life. And I remember that moment. So that guy being an AC/DC fan, kind of bringing it back into your question, but there's a few things I remember, like the Ace Frehley autobiography, he talks about hitting a chord and going, oh, I was in love. But it was that kind of thing. I haven't done hard drugs, but you hear about like junkies or crack addicts having their first hit and going, that was it. I remember I didn't get a guitar for about, I hope you don't mind my life story here, but I didn't get a guitar for I would borrow my guitar head mate's guitar occasionally, if I wasn't staying at his house on the weekend, and I couldn't really play it. I was like 14. I'd take it home and go, oh yeah, cool. And my first ever job, my first ever paycheck, I took it to the local big music shop chain in New Zealand, and I went in, looked at all the guitars, and I found budget one that was probably like $300, and went, do you guys do lay-by? And they go, yeah. And I gave them all the money, and I remember giving them all the money. I think I kept $5, and I bought a pie or something on the way home. And my next paycheck, I went back and just gave them all the rest of the money I had and took it home. It took me about 2 weeks to start properly playing it, but then I just started playing it. And long story, short story, I hope that relates to AC/DC somehow.
Oh, look, I think you've hit the nail on the head, and I've read it too on a lot of biographies, and the fact that you've mentioned it and there's a lot of guitar players here, and there's a lot of musicians here in the chat. Helen, for example, is a piano player. I'm sure she experienced the same thing too when she sat down and played a chord, the first chord, through a keyboard on a piano. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm propelling this sound out of me somehow. And I remember I read this Guitar Player magazine years ago, and Jimmy Page made this comment about how he couldn't believe there was this electricity doing this through this guitar, and then he was like part of it and just creating the sound. And I remember reading that, and then when I, like you, had my first strum through an amp after playing an acoustic for a couple of months, which is great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking acoustics. We've all got them. Look, we all play them. But
You've got the grandpa guitars. You got grandpa guitars.
but once you plug it in, and what the first amp I played through was a Gorilla amp, which had distortion, which had a distort. And I remember plotting and scheming. I remember having evil thoughts at the time, thinking, what if I just bashed my friend over the head and just took his guitar and amp home?
Oh, dude, that's really rough.
Oh, come on. It was just a thought. I didn't act on it. Well, no, But yeah, I remember thinking that because, there was no way I was going to get a electric guitar straight away either, too. So it was bad enough getting a cheap, shitty acoustic guitar. But look, I think we've all experienced that, haven't we? The power of that E chord, of strumming or playing some kind of chord if we didn't know chords. Bro, I just want to do a quick shout out. We've got Sonia in the chat. She's been with us right from the word go. Sonia, I have to do a special shout out to her. She was one of the first people when Carl and I decided that we were going to start this channel and do something about 5 years ago. She was right there with us. So good to see you. And as I said too, guys, I've chucked out some wrenches there. That's our channel recognition for you guys. You've all got your wrenches. Please look after those wrenches. Those wrenches give you the ability to ban people and kick people out of our chat. Obviously, that's not what we want to do unless someone's in the chat peddling porn or T-shirts or something like that. Well, then we can get rid of them. But those wrenches will mean, hopefully, when we get more people into the chat, that's going to be something that's like a badge for you guys for being around, hanging out with us and helping our channel grow. If you haven't got a wrench and you want a wrench, let me know and we're going to go live tomorrow with the Rock Professor and with Brad, and we're going to have other people jump in on the stream. So if you guys want to get a wrench, we're going to do that tomorrow. Chris, we're going to cruise. I'm going to give you the last word, bro. I'm going to say thank you to everybody for hanging out. I won't do a shout out. We'll see you tomorrow. I'll give you the last word, brother.
I don't know what my last word is. My last word is thank you all for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us.
Awesome. We've got a couple of cool 5150 shows coming up. Chris and I have been preparing it. And Hos, we were going to do something today on that, but we bumped that show back. So hang out, hit that subscribe button. We've got a cool show coming up after in a couple of weeks' time. You guys will certainly want to be part of that. And we're also hatching something else too. Hos mentioned that when we go live at Hos's gig, we've got something special coming up too. Especially, we're going to do something really cool. So subscribe to our channel, please. Please go to our community page and especially subscribe to Fruitcake Tony's channel and his crew. Give them a thumbs up and support what they do over there.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to give Chris's Eddie, the puppeteer. He's going to get the final. He's going to get the final shout out too. So, Ed.
Wait. Wrong way. Wait. That's way. Hey! If you buy any of these things, this one's really cool. I can't put him down. I can't put him down. I don't know why. He's very cute and very nice, and he'd like to be in your home.